Welcome to Speaking of Faith, occasional conversations at the intersection of faith and life and so much in between. My name is Chris Holmes. I'm the Stemler Scholar in Residence here at First Presbyterian Church of Atlanta. And I am delighted to welcome you to our ongoing conversation with David Roth, who is the Executive Director at Memorial Drive Ministries. And we have had a rich conversation so far about refugees and the global crisis of displaced people. So thanks again, David, for being with us.
Happy to.
I want to start our conversation now around Clarkston, Georgia, which some of us may be familiar with, some of us may not be familiar with. But what some people may not know is that Clarkston is actually one of, if not the most diverse cities in all of the U.S.
That's right.
And so I'm wondering if you can say a little bit more about Clarkston and the refugee presence in Clarkston.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, there's no city in the world like Clarkston. It's a real gem. It is, as you said, the most diverse square mile in America, and it's become known as the Ellis Island of the South. And the reason for that is because it's been the site of refugee resettlement for decades. So when we're talking about refugees, again, we're talking about people who have fled persecution, war, and danger, and have been afforded a chance to begin rebuilding their lives in the United States. And that's people from Vietnam, Bosnia, Kosovo, Rwanda, Congo, Bhutan, Nepal, Eritrea, Somalia, all these different countries really from across Southeast Asia, North Africa, the Middle East, Eastern Europe. Ukraine is another country where refugees often arrive there in Clarkston. And so it's an incredibly rich community of diversity. There are, I think, over 32 nationalities and over 60 language groups there in Clarkston. So a lot of diversity, incredible opportunities for relationships across lines of difference and learning from one another, and also great food. So right. It's a great spot.
Yeah. So I've been to Clarkston a couple times. Me and the organist here at First Presbyterian Church like to ride our bikes onto Stone Mountain. So we always make our way through Clarkston. And it seems, I'm always fascinated with the variety of dress and the types of people that I see walking through Clarkston. But I'm wondering, you spend a lot more time there than I do. I just bike through it. And I'm wondering, what are some of the coolest things that are going on in Clarkston? What's exciting there?
Yeah, so I think the level of diversity and the resiliency of the people who have begun rebuilding their lives in Clarkston makes there's a real entrepreneurial spirit. So there are a lot of upstart businesses, there are a lot of upstart nonprofits that are meeting real needs in kind of culturally relevant ways. And then there are also a lot of new immigrant-led churches that are reaching people, again, in people's heart languages and in culturally sensitive ways. And so that's really neat to see all of that kind of always bubbling up. And sometimes it's wildly successful, other times it kind of fizzles out, but there's always a kind of churn of just life and vitality and people trying things and people figuring out how to come together in community and make things work. And so that kind of synergy and those partnerships that develop out of that milieu, it's all just really exciting and fun I feel like I got a front row seat to a lot of amazing stuff.
That's awesome. Do you see a lot of intercultural interactions going? I mean, you said dozens of different nationalities and language groups. Are there opportunities or institutions where people from very different cultural backgrounds are either forced to work together or choose to work together?
Yeah, so that's exactly in some ways getting to the heart of what Memorial Drive Ministries exists to kind of envision and to help be a space for that. So we're a shared ministry space there in Clarkston, about a mile from downtown Clarkston. And we exist to be a shared ministry space for congregations, nonprofits, recreation groups, and schools that are all serving that diverse community. So it's everything from English classes, civics education, sewing and employment services, baking, training programs. These are all nonprofits and partners that call our campus home and are working with that diverse community. And so those are all places where people from a lot of different, for example, Just Bakery operates in the kitchen on our campus, and there's a Syrian, a Nepali, and a Bhutanese woman who I see there working together, and they're just fast friends. They've become fast friends. And same with Refugee Family Literacy, a Friends of Refugees program that's on our campus. Their English classes often have 10 people who all speak a different, heart language there in the English class. And so those are those opportunities for relationships across different cultural backgrounds, and so it yields a lot of really neat and interesting fruit.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously you said you're a mile from the heart of downtown Clarkston, so that location is great, but there's also something significant about Memorial Drive Ministries, which is the space that you're located in, and it's located in a Presbyterian church, and I would love, I mean, just talk a little bit about how that church and your partnership with them has changed and made you think about the ministry of the church maybe differently, or opportunities for the church broadly speaking, not necessarily that specific congregation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so Memorial Drive Presbyterian Church started in the 50s and really kind of rose to be one of these kind of real flagship Presbyterian churches. Is really close to Columbia Theological Seminary. I feel like I still meet pastors who are like, oh, I did my internship at Memorial Drive Pres, and they had a really robust children's program for a long time. And as the story spins, demographics changes, neighborhood changes, all the kind of factors that move into a church's story.
Right.
As they kind of dwindled in terms of numbers and resources, they really began seeing their large campus as a resource for, again, these upstart immigrant churches, these brand new nonprofits that are meeting real needs. They said, we have space, come, we want that kind of hospitality. We want to be formed by you and be in relationship with you. How do we make this happen? And so they began opening their doors. And as they continued to do that, the complexity of that grew. They also began reaching out to other churches. Shallowford, Decatur Pres, North Decatur Pres, St. Luke's Pres began getting involved. The Presbytery began seeing this as a real site for innovative and exciting ministry. And so that's really what birthed Memorial Drive Ministries. We exist to be kind of an umbrella organization on campus to work with all the different on-site partners, relieve some of that complexity from Memorial Drive Pres. They continue to be a vibrant worshiping community on our campus, but are one of 4 to 6. There's always congregations coming in and out every Sunday. And then all the activity that's Monday through Saturday as well, from badminton and basketball to English classes and after-school programs.
Yeah, I mean, it's just even thinking about what Memorial Drive Ministries is able to do with that space on a Sunday morning and helping coordinate 4 to 6. It's just such a beautiful vision of the end, the eschatological vision of like what heaven's going to look like with languages, worship in all sorts of languages. It's just such a beautiful picture. So, aside from like selling our houses and moving to Clarkston, I'm sure, people are like, wow, sounds super exciting. Maybe they know how to sew, maybe they're bakers, maybe they are former English teachers. But as you interact with people in the greater Atlanta area, what are ways that folks can get involved with what's going on, either with Memorial Drive Ministries specifically or with Clarkston more generally?
Yeah, absolutely. There are always opportunities for getting involved in Clarkston, so many. And we can think about it through kind of time, talent, and treasure, of course. So time, volunteering, there are a million volunteer opportunities, from just coming on our campus to garden a garden plot and get to know the neighbors around you in your little community garden area, to delivering baked goods that were baked by refugee women that helps keep them employed and working at Just Bakery, to getting involved as a volunteer. You could help refugee family literacy as a tutor in one of the kids' classrooms. There's a host of opportunities. Amani Women's Center often has their sewing academy on our campus. They always need volunteers getting involved with the women there. So time is huge. If you have time, retirees are keeping Clarkston alive in a lot of ways. So please, if you have the time and want to come get involved, reach out to me. We'll find an avenue. So that's a great way. Talent too. They're building capacity. Nonprofits rely on volunteers, but also rely on volunteers and kind of experts who can bring some kind of talent and skill to what they do. Maybe you're great behind a camera. Maybe you're a lawyer or an accountant and could serve on a board. Maybe you could get involved in helping a nonprofit with their strategic plan. I mean, there are real talent and skill kind of vacuums that we would love. Clarkston needs people to come fill some of those talent. And again, I'm happy to chat with people about ways to get plugged in on that level. And then treasure also, of course. We rely on monthly donors to sustain our operations, and Memorial Drive Ministries, that's true of us and true of a lot of resettlement agencies and the nonprofits and even congregations on our campus. When you're serving people who have fled violence and persecution and maybe just came with really the coat on their back as they fled their homeland, they might desperately need a place where they can worship in their heart language, but are not quite yet able to tithe as generously as might be able to sustain our campus on that alone. And so we're this really New Testament looking model of partnership between congregations from across Atlanta who are invested in what's happening on our campus and the people locally who are also contributing to making it a safe and welcoming space.
Yeah, I love it. So many ways for people to get involved, and I'm sure you're going to be hearing from some people. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much for joining us for this conversation. We hope that you'll come back for some more future conversations.